Hello, hello, and welcome to New You Wow. I am your host, Yvonne Nobles, and today we are honored to be joined by Lisa Monette. She is a live video expert, a coach, a voice strategist, and thank you so much for coming through. How are you today, Lisa?
Hey, well, it's so good to finally meet you live. We've talked on the phone and we've seen pictures, but to see you live, thank you for inviting me.
Oh,
Great,
thank you.
great.
There's nothing like that human connection. So, as we're here to come together and celebrate epic achievements and breakthroughs for women around the globe, we always start off with a little bit of an icebreaker. So, can you tell us something about yourself, a little known gem that most people do not know?
Ooh, I didn't know you were going to ask that question. Gosh, God, I have so many. I was talking about how I'm a goat. A lot of people don't know that I've been taking dancing since I was 3 years old. And when I was a little girl, I actually took classes with famous dance teachers, and Two of them were in the original West Side Story. And Jaime Rogers was one of them, and he was Sonny and Cher's choreographer for the Sonny and Cher show and the Fame show on TV. So I got to take dance from all kinds of cool people. I loved it.
Wow. What was that experience like?
My whole life, I don't know, this is funny. I always talk about in business, like, what's your through line? What have you been doing your whole life kind of thing? Now you're doing other things. I've always loved creativity and dance. And one thing that was funny is that I always wanted to be a dancer, but there really wasn't dance opportunities in those days. So I think it always taught me, like, where's a really good coach? Where's a really good trainer? I want to be a good trainer. And I'm also not snobby, but because I was raised in Hollywood and LA, where everybody was really good, they were doing like good stuff. It was like, it was great teachers. So I'm always looking for the great in that. And that's what I coach on too. So I think life is a dance.
Oh, fantastic. And it's so funny you say that, because it brought back many, many years back. I had a brief stint where I was convinced I was going to be one of the competitive Latina dancers.
Really?
So we're talking bachata, merengue, and salsa. Loved it. My instructor was from Venezuela. Ooh. And there's something magical about dance. So
do you take Zumba now? Have you done Zumba or any of that
Actually,
stuff?
I just did a couple of the courses. I did belly dancing. I did African dancing. But yeah, like you said, there's something wonderful about dance. And I think it's a great point for everyone out there to remember. No matter where you are in life, if you want to go after something, try something new, it can just add a new layer to your existence.
And you know what else is cool? As you're speaking, I'm thinking I live in Las Vegas now. And I went back to Orange County, but when I lived here about 13 years ago, I used to take at this dance club. It actually was like a sports place, but everybody in Vegas was either an ex-entertainer, wants to be an entertainer. So this class had 100 people in it, right?
Wow.
And the trainer didn't speak English, and she was from Russia, and she had this amazing movement. Then all these Latinas, Latin people would be lined up to get in. They were like competitive. And I'm like, oh my God, these people are going to kick my butt if I don't run in first, and I don't go in the back of the room. So they're all speaking Spanish. We got the Russian in the front. And, she turned on that music and she didn't even talk. She just did things, and you just followed. And she was such a good trainer. But then these musicians started to come in, drummers and things would come to this deal. And it was awesome. I forgot about that. It was a while back. But I go out of there higher than a kite going, this is so good for you, dance. It helps you.
Excellent. Yeah. I mean, it's not just a physical thing. It's emotional, it's mental, spiritual.
Freedom. It's all about freedom for me. I think that's one of my big things I'm about is freedom.
Any particular genres or types that you like?
I like everything. I mean, I grew up, like I said, doing jazz, and then I've studied hip hop, street funk. Now I don't have a name for it anymore. We used to name everything, right? Yeah. You know what I mean? It's like from MTV all the way to what are they doing now? These movements. And even if you go revert a whole circle, here's Steven Spielberg doing West Side Story in 2021, and he's doing a remake from 1967, and they made sure they brought the same choreography in from the 60s, which was unbelievably cool, like really great. Even some better choreography in the old days than some of them now, like really was hard to dance. Now people do dance videos and they're like, I go, oh, that's cute, but you go over and watch the real dance classes, like, in Hollywood or Millennium or in Chicago or, New York
that
or
seems to be the
Miami.
rule of the music universe anyway. So
It's really cool. Yeah. I could talk about dance forever, so don't get me going.
No, it's okay. But
J-Lo's World of Dance. Although I didn't like Dancing with the Stars. I watched it a couple of times. I don't like watching really bad people with a pro and they're trying to take a, NBA player or somebody that's on a sitcom or just weird stuff with this pro, like really professional pro. They go, we're going to help them. I'm like, oh, it's really hard to watch.
Yeah, some of them were. But
it's fun. It is fun. I'm not judging, but it is fun to watch how they did grow with a pro. When you've got a pro coaching you, will lead us to our thing today. When you've got a pro coaching you on presentation skills, I don't care what kind of dancer or speaker or whatever you are, you're going to up level. None of those guys do it alone. In that class I told you about with Jaime Rogers in Hollywood, all those people in there were so good. And guess what they kept doing? Getting better. They didn't need that coach. They didn't need that dance crowd. That teacher, but your head gets in the way, or you don't even know what else you can create.
Yeah.
That's why it's fun to take class also.
Yeah. Or what you're reminding me of is that 1% improvement. So it doesn't matter if you're starting here or starting there. The key is to get better. And that's where coaching comes in. So,
and how do you get better when you play tennis or you dance? What causes people to actually get better? You know what I'm saying?
Well, you got to have the mentorship. You got to continue.
And you be with better people. You go, oh my God. I was a flight attendant a million years ago. You're talking about some of my story. And we got the privilege of being based in Hawaii.
Nice.
And my little friend, Jane Goforth, she's from Texas. And she was like a, champion tennis player. Well, my husband and me had played tennis quite a bit and stuff, and I had taken some private lessons and things. But when I went to Hawaii and she starts playing with us and her husband also played, like kicked our butt. I go, she's like hitting the racket. And after playing with her for a couple of years, that's what I did. I got better, Same thing. If I would take a dance class and they were bad dancers next to me, I go, oh, I can't dance next to them. They're just kind of dead. So I'd go over where the really good people were so I could get better. I'd watch them. I go, oh, I want to pick up the vibe of that. So it's really good to have
contagious.
Or just examples.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Wonderful. But let's talk about your professional journey. Take it back to the beginning. When were you first bit with the entrepreneurial bug? And what caused you to decide to follow through? Tell us that.
A lot of people tell their stories when they were a little kid. I sold Christmas cards when I was 8 years old on a skateboard, in Highland Park. I sold, things to make money in high school, but I always loved cosmetics, and I loved my mother owned hair salons, and my dad was kind of strict. He was with like the LAPD, and so I had this upbringing that was kind of strong, but also like artsy and things. But my mother owned her own business, and she called her own shots. Actually, she didn't call her own shots completely in those days. My dad still wanted to control some of her money and things, which was very typical in that time. But it also taught me that I'm not going to have anybody call the shots on something. I want to make sure that I can do that. So I did many things. I became a hairstylist in Beverly Hills. I was mentored by one of the most famous salons. And then I woke up one day in my 20s and I said, well, I don't want to do that anymore. I'm going to be a flight attendant. And we were doing like Academy Awards and celebrities, but I didn't care. It was, I was in my 20s. I'm like, oh, it's LA. Everybody's a celebrity. Who cares? But it was fun. But what happened is that every place I kept doing things, I kept getting in this leadership role. Like the salon would come to me, go, can you get Bernard to do this and that? Then I became a flight attendant, flew all over the world. Like I said, lived in Hawaii. I got picked, from management. We want you to be a senior. We want you to be in leadership role. And then I had a baby and in Hawaii, and I was married, and somebody turned me on to Mary Kay Cosmetics. So this is the real starting point to your question. Okay. So the Mary Kay thing, the cosmetics, was a direct sale, company. And I just fell in, I would watch these women, mothers a lot that got to stay home now, or they had a side hustle, but they were, it was so motivational. And I didn't even care about the product, but I had never seen a marketing plan like that. Everything else was kind of what I did before. So Mary Kay was kind of the start, and then I won a Cadillac with them and did a lot of different things after that.
Wow. So with everything that you've done, what's been your favorite?
A few years back, probably, I don't know how many years now, but I went to an event with Brendon Burchard, and I was turned on to him by a woman named Shalene Johnson. She's an influencer, and I did her makeup. She used to be a hip hop teacher with her buddy Monica. So she says, you got to meet this guy, Brendon Burchard. So I started going to Brendon Burchard events. Experts Academy, high performance. I started really seeing, more and more people. And I had also worked previously with Tony Robbins. I was on his original teams in the 90s and stuff. Mm-hmm. So I've always been around transformation, landmark forum, religious science, just anything transformation. But when I saw Brendan Bouchard, and then he did an event with who became my mentor, is a man named Roger Love. And Roger got on the stage, and it was called World's Greatest Speaker. They don't do it anymore, but it was 3 people. It was Brendan and Roger and Boyson. And Roger gets on this stage, it was like 1,000 people. It wasn't huge. Actually, it was smaller. It was probably like 700 people. Okay. And Roger gets up there, and he's from LA, and he is a top celebrity voice coach. He's Joaquin Phoenix voice coach. Just name him. Bradley Cooper's coach, Tony Robbins voice coach, and he's a doll. He was with the Beach Boys, Madonna, Gwen Stefani, just everybody. I could name it. Just millions and millions of winners and stuff. So I saw this man start talking, and I went, he's my people, and he was teaching how to use your voice. And I got him around the camera my whole life, and so I coached with him, and I went to Hollywood, and I did his training and a mentorship. And then he told me one day, he said, when I went in there, he was giving me feedback. And he goes, you've got to get louder. Your voice isn't loud enough. And I said, what are you talking about? I'm so loud. And he goes, no, you've got to use, he started giving tips and tricks. And I went, back again, Hollywood trainer, works with people, dancers, speakers, my people, because I love presentation skills. Nice. Because it's not about these strict presentation skills of reading a script and stuff. Right. Actors can't speak live sometimes. They're awful. That's why they have coaches. They go, we can't put that person on, Jay Leno, because they don't know how to talk. I mean, you know what I mean? They get on there and go, they're just, look at the Kardashians and all that. I can't handle their voices. They just talk like this. And it's just like everything's, and I'm like, oh God. I'm making fun of them. They're fine. But you know what I mean? So Roger got me going, to answer your question. And you're going to have your own business card, this thing. You're so good. You're so good at what you do. And I just said, I want to do this. So then I decided a few years back, I want to start coaching people, especially when Facebook Live started coming out. When was that? 4 years ago?
Yeah, that sounds right.
It was about 4 years ago. And of course, here I've been around photographers, videographers, because I was behind the scenes doing makeup all the time. I became a professional, really good makeup artist and trainer. And so all of a sudden I'm watching, entrepreneurs get on the camera. I go, okay, these people need help. Okay, we're going to need help with lights. We're going to need help with scripting, and not scripting, but I just fell in love with the whole entrepreneur space of how can we help them get freed up on the camera. That's what I'd say one of my biggest talents is helping people get freed up, because there's so much. And you said you're a mindset coach also. Yeah, it's all in here. Yeah. It's all in here. But if let's say, okay, that you're better in here, then I'm also about, okay, so you're whatever you are here. So what about your presentation skills? Because I'm really great. I could be really great in here. And all of a sudden I go, oh God, I don't know how do I do more or something? So that's where I come in, Okay. The secret weapon for your getting it more out of you, because this metal thing stops people. They can have a session with you that they're all together and they're just doing great. Turn on that camera, or you're going to lose half her mind. You're going to go, she's gone. Where'd she go? I was in a training one time. It was the transformation training in Los Angeles many years ago. Really intense. It was called LifeSpring. I don't know if you knew it. You remember? Yeah, I've heard of LifeSpring. LifeSpring, Landmark. They were all, so they all started back in the 80s and 90s. So it was an advanced course, really intense. Okay. Like ridiculous. I don't even like this kind of training anymore, but they just break you down of things that were in your way to bring you back. Got it. We were doing something, and I was in Mary Kay already, and I'd won my Cadillac, and I'm out there and I'm all friendly, but I take this training where they've got trainers and they've got staff, and they had ground rules, and it was all about this energy. It was like NLP, but not really. So I'm just frozen. And so my girlfriend's calling her husband going, Lisa is like stuck. I go, well, see, because things were scaring me. So if we can help people get freed up, and get clear what they want. Yes. Yeah, there's nothing. That was a rant. Sorry, I just went off. No, not at all. No, the valid point was, once someone gets to that point, you know what I always compare it to? It's like you're the Olympic swimmer that is ready to go in and do the event, but you walk out to the edge of the diving board and you freeze.
and that's it. And so nothing's going to happen until you leap. So that's where coaches come in. You know, you're just getting someone to just unravel the layers, and you don't even have to give the answers. You let them work through. But when it happens, it's such a beautiful epiphany. And to know you had a small role in that. Yeah.
And on the other side of that too, it's you mentioned ice. My daughter grew up. Let me back up. When I was little, I also wanted to become an ice skater, a figure skater. My mom was working, my dad was working. So my friend Judy, myself, and her mother, we were 10 years old, and we got to take private lessons in ice skating in Pasadena, California. Wow. And I took from some really great little people. And I was just little. I was just getting started. And Judy wanted to quit. She said, I don't want to do it anymore. Well, Judy was my ride, and my mother couldn't take me because she was busy in those days, and they didn't take it serious. An Olympic champion, a coach for the ice capades, went to my parents and said, look at Lisa, I want to coach her because she could go to the Olympics. She could be in the ice capades. She's so talented. And my mother and father said, yeah. So that was like a scar for years. I kept dancing, so they kept me in that. Fast forward, my little girl one day is going by an ice skating rink, and she's like, I want to ice skate. And all my scars from the past going, oh, you don't want to ice skate. You know, it's really difficult. And I got her into it. And so good story. She skated with top Olympic trainers. All these little kids went to the Olympics. They were in her arena. So I did makeup, and I got to be with Michelle Kwan and Sasha Cohen and NBC Wide World Sports and all of that. So my daughter, she didn't go to the Olympics, but she could have done amazing things in other countries. It was so competitive here. But for 10 years, I got to live the dream at 6 and 7 in the morning. The best skaters from around the world and these superstars would come to California from France and Italy and everywhere. And they train up in Idlewild. They used to train up in Idlewild. And I used to know all the Olympic people. And it's a small world. And you're absolutely right. We'd see these people just kill it during the week, and slamming the boards. And then they go to a competition. Some of them really would freeze up. So it really started, the further up they go, man, it does start to get the head. But to get that level, you have you can't just will it. You can't read a book on it. You got to get on the ice and fall and get wet,
Gotta do the work.
That's how you do it. I love ice skating. It's your fault. You said it. Yeah.
Well, we're very curious, given that you have a tremendous amount of energy and so many experiences. What do you tap into when you feel like you're running on E and you have to just power up? What do you do? What are your methods?
No, and it's funny that you said that, because right now, especially with whenever people will watch this, but there was this lockdown that went on, right? Yes. And there was everything happening right now that had slowed so many people, all of us down in one way or another. Excuse me. And so I'm even noticing now that I have to make sure that I breathe better, or I get grounded. I have to turn everything off. Even doing this with you right now takes more energy than normally sitting in a coffee shop and talking to you right now. Yeah. And I think people are hard on themselves sometimes, especially the online space is what we're in, that they're not doing enough, or they're constantly looking at stuff. And my thing is, we have to turn stuff off. Yes. I have certain musics I listen to meditate down. Every night I do a bath with candles with music. It's like a ritual. Excellent. I'm not a big ritual person in the morning so much. I mean, a few things, but I'm also noticing if there's too many rituals, it's like, do this, the journal, and this, hold on, what are we doing today? Sometimes you're doing too many things.
Yes.
And, there's some coaches that are high performance coaches that believe that when you get out of bed that you stretch and exercise, but kind of you got to find out where the prime time is. Yes. Everybody's different. The 5 a.m. club is bullshit. It's only if that's for you.
Oh, no. We're definitely kindred spirits there, because I'm a night person. So yeah, the 5, no.
Oh, and guess what? What did I tell you about my ice skating daughter? 6 a.m. I had to get up in the friggin' bedroom, drive 30 minutes to the rink. Then she skates for an hour at 7 in the morning. And then she changes her clothes in the car like a stripper. She knows how to change her clothes quick now, an older person. And then I drive her 30 minutes home and take her to school. And then I went back and had my daytime job working for the Chanel company.
Wow.
I make a forever
Mothers are superheroes.
They're superheroes. I could never do that. And I'm like, I'm not getting up at 6 a.m. I'm sorry. It doesn't prove it. And Tony Robbins is my favorite mentor on that too. He's late night with Tony. He's not a morning person. He's a late person. He's about, and he doesn't believe in time either. He believes that time is irrelevant. Just be effective. That's all it is, because most people can't focus enough, right?
Yeah. Well, I
So,
love his, I'm trying to remember, I can't recall the fellow's name, but it was someone that was invited to his estate. And he did a very early morning rise with a bunch of different, like it was the ice water bath and the yoga.
the Iceman, that wind guy, or he's from like Sweden or something, that guy.
Well, no, this was another, like a news reporter that just, he
Oh,
was
okay.
graced to go hang out with Tony for the day.
Yeah.
And on that particular morning, they woke up early and they did all these things. But what impressed me the most was, like you said, more than the time element, it's the commitment to reset, because, whether it's this device, that device, this element, this commitment, if you don't unplug, it's kind of like leaving your phone in or your laptop on nonstop. And over time, it's just going to overkill. So if it happens to a device, even more so with the complexities of us being people, you have to reset. So I love that point that you made.
No, you have to do it. And also, I can be hard on myself. I can say, oh, I don't have as much energy as this person over there. And I'm not a comparison kind of person. I really kind of do own my badassness. That's another thing. I started my business, one of my businesses 10 years ago, called Badass Beauty TV. And the Badass TV, the TV stands for transformational videos. But sometimes you just, you just have to go, that's not it. Now, on the other hand, I learned a lot from Tony Robbins. I believe that I won my Cadillac in Mary Kay and did almost $1 million in production. This was back in the 80s and 90s.
Wow.
Because he was so good on, finding that movement and finding his physicality. We'd be in these trainings for 6 hours and it was supposed to end at midnight. He'd have us going till 2 a.m. But you know how he kept it going? And that's why I can't stand some trainers that don't know how to do this. They're not aware of the energy in the room. Tony, every hour, get up, massage the person in front of you, turn this music on, breathe. That's the stuff you need to do, not just in Tony's room, but outside. And so many people just stay. I'm laughing about, I didn't take a period here or a comma. I'm always telling people, slow down, stop for a second. And I'm just rambling right now. I'm going, training myself.
Yeah, this is amazing, amazing stuff. Yeah.
Take a breath, Lisa. Like, stop. Have you been around Australians? I have some Australian friends. I talk slow, man, compared to them. Just go on and on. I'm like, oh my God, child, take a breath, take a period. New York. Wait,
the energy in the room, everything.
Yeah, but Tony's he's all about physicality, but taking care of your body and your mind. And a lot of people, you can only go so far with business. If you're not on top of it, then you're dragging, you're not your best. So you need all of it.
Absolutely. So being that energy is so crucial. What would you say are your top 3 sources of inspiration? What energizes you?
The interview? You said the interview?
What energizes you?
Oh, energizes. I said the interview.
Top 3 sources of inspiration.
People or just things in general?
Yeah.
You said, I'm sorry, I didn't hear that part. So what energizes me with people or just in general?
Well, in general, what would you say be your top 3 sources of inspiration?
Oh, what inspires me. Number 1 is my through line is freedom of expression.
Nice.
Definitely freedom of expression, especially what's going on right around the world, trying to censor and do these things. It really pressed a lot of buttons for me. So because I especially from being from America, where I'm all about, and every country needs to have this, is we need to have this freedom of expression. That I call the shots. I'm not waiting for Judy Micelle to let me go on the ice skating rink. I'm not waiting for my parents to say, yeah, you get to take skating. No, I got freedom. I get to choose. So that inspires me. Totally inspired by artists that are movie makers, screenwriters, cinematographers, anything that we're going to get a visualization that can take us into another world. Yeah. I value these people so much, writers, singers, but I definitely like I like all of it, but the visual thing inspires me. And that's why I do part of my business when I coach my clients. I want them to be thinking about the story of you. You're a movie. You are a movie. You're not just this business brand of it. Well, that's why branding is getting so big right now too. They're trying to brand people. What does that mean? Putting a stamp on them? No, who are you? Right. And so that inspires me a lot. And then what else? I'm inspired by, I love my daughter. She inspires me because every day she's adorable. She's just so sweet. So I love being a mother. I mean, she's older now. I mean, she's older in her 30s and stuff, but
she's always going to be your baby.
She's my baby, you know, and I'm also inspired by people like you, mentors, women and men that are inspirational and that I'm inspired by. I love that. I love being on teams where there's inspiration. I love giving back all the time. So that is something I do constantly.
Oh, good for you. Yeah, absolutely. Paying it forward is so essential. And we're only going to be as high as we lift others. So there is that obligation to just not lose sight of community. Like we're in this. I love that.
What inspires you? What's your thing?
You know, for me, it's when the light bulb turns on, when you take someone, it doesn't matter if they're little or big, if they're, you know, a boy or a girl, just when they have that doubt and that fear, and you say something that turns the light bulb on, and you see them right before your eyes become, it's like when the caterpillar becomes the butterfly, like that is magic. And to know that now they have the ability to just go and do it for someone else. I think the best example recently was right before the pandemic. I was tutoring, and the little girl, her mother was mortified because she had D's and F's, and she was just very to herself and quiet. And then I would say it was less than a quarter. Yeah, the next quarter when the report card came out, A's and B's. And the mom's like, what did you do? And I said,
what caused it?
All we did was get her to open up. That's it. She blossomed. You know, it's one of those things where towards the end, she was running the tutoring sessions, and she just had so much to talk about, so much to share. And, you know, her mom was like, who is this person?
See, you freed her up. You freed her up. That's that word again. There's some way that she was doing or being or who was with her that was causing her to revert back, to shrink back. A lot of people won't risk, especially, again, I go back to presentation or speaking or, you know, self-esteem or confidence. People are in their head that if they do something, number one thing is fear is this judging, you know, the fear of speaking. There were people that jokes about people would rather, you know, be in a coffin than do a public speaking thing, which I don't believe that's true now, but that's before the internet, right? But I'm saying that when you can free someone.
Well, and you know,
I'll tell you this quick story. The girl in my group.
You froze for a minute. There you go. What's that?
Oh no, I was just saying I just wanted to tell a quick story about this woman, Connie, who's in my group. Am I frozen still? Oh, there it goes.
No, you're back. We hear you, Connie.
So there's an older woman in my group. She's in her 70s, right? And she did my VIP and I did a week challenge on how to come alive on camera. So she was so negative, and I didn't know her from nothing. She had a really dark room that she was in, and she came to this thing. We all met in this other group, but she came to my group thing, and she was just negative and said, oh, I'm sick, I'm this and that. So she comes into the VIP thing, and I really started listening to her, and I'm going, that's a crock of shit. So I started getting in her face, and I'm going, you look like you're dead. I said, why can't you smile? I mean, I kept hitting nuggets on her, and she fell in love with me. Fell in love. She's written 3 books. She's been interviewed. I got her she had white hair, white glasses, white skin. Everything was stupid on the screen. I go, Connie, we can't even see you. You look like an albino. So I got her to buy glasses, and I did a makeup session with her privately. Like, Connie, your nose is all red and you look dead with no lipstick. You know, and her book and her movement is don't be retired and not keep living.
Wow.
So she's still kind of a badass. She had been in the military, but the point is that watching her get freed up, and tons of stories like that. It's like, it's so cool. I love it.
Well, you know, I love that you share that or emphasize the freedom aspect, because that's all that we're doing when we're limited, is we're just hostage, and we need sometimes someone else's belief and support to just unlock the cage and let us fly. One thing that I definitely remember about that sweet little student was I told her before she takes the test and before she did her homework, she had to say certain things. So someone just referred to it as affirmations.
Yes.
I would tell her she had to read it 10 times. And I am amazing. I am smart. I am beautiful. And so I would say, and I need you to say it like you mean it. Because the first time she just whispered everything. And I said, no, that doesn't count. You have to say it like you mean it. And it was just wonderful to see how what happens is, I always say thoughts are things.
Yes.
Until you give them life through words and
Yes.
either speak them or write them, they're not tangible. So it was great to see her take it and make it become real. And when that report card came, and you know, her and her mom are crying, it was just, it was
see,
great.
that's what Tony does on crack cocaine, a version of that. That's condensed. What's it called? He'll have you say this thing, I am the leader, I am the belief, but he has you do it. And then he has you physically change it. I've done that many times in different trainings where I'll have you say, I love being on the camera. Okay, now I want you to say it again. I love being on the camera. Okay, now I want you to whisper it. I love being on the camera. Now I want you to scream it. I love being on the camera. And then I work on the tonality. You could, and that's the problem with people. Sometimes they're saying something, they're not congruent with the words coming out. So they, well, I like being here. No, your body shrugged and just said, like, I don't like being here. So words, to me, it's the words. So we got the part of the words. And then you got to have the passion, the not passion like screaming like Tony Robbins kind of thing or something, but the congruency of where you're nailing at what you're saying, because you're losing people. You're not, it's not coming through where you're trying to hit it, because you're scared to, you might be a little loud, or it might be a little something. And that's what I'm intrigued by. Why do we listen? Because somebody can say, I'm powerful, I'm powerful, I'm powerful. Well, you're not, because you're not feeling the power. So the words are nothing. You can write in a journal, I'm powerful, I'm powerful. You know, unless you do something powerful. It does start. It isn't like the chicken and the egg, right? It's like, it's like have one of the other.
You need them both. You need them both. And I love it too, because what is it? They say 80% of what we say doesn't come out of our mouth. It's body language.
It's the physicality.
So the fact that you help everyone master that and really take control of that, instead of feeling like they're victims of it, that's a beautiful thing. Wonderful.
Thank you. And that's why I also like, my light. Look at, I'm always playing with light. See, when you go forward, it gets the light again. I'm always, see that adjusted the light. I'm always, I love my clients that have accents, you know, for speaking English as a second language, because some of them, they don't get heard and nobody says anything. So they just get ignored. So they'll say something, especially heavier accents. And I've coached many people on that, and I'll have them talk and I'll go, I don't know what you just said on that last word. And she'll go, you know, the library. I go, no one knows what you did. So I worked with, he was an IT guy, right? His wife made him get coaching, private coaching with me, because he was this terrible accent. You know, just he had like this terrible accent after 16 years here. But I would always try to correct him to like, look, you're not going to change the accent, but we got to have certain words that are your bad words because of the vowels or something. So we would work on that. And that's good for anybody. I mean, you could be from Atlanta with some like, y'all, I don't know what you're saying, y'all. They're walking around with a diphthong. You know what a diphthong is, right? And I'm like, dude, that diphthong's not working. So I work with that too.
Okay. So given that you've done so much, which accomplishment are you most proud of? Which one brings you the most joy?
Oh, you're so sweet. There's just so many. It's hard to put, but my, you know, probably the biggest one was working with Tony Robbins and then winning that Cadillac and Mary Kay. Doing, you know, I had to do 100,000 and have this big team. And they all went to Dallas with me, and I got to go on stage in front of 6,000 people and get the keys and parties. And it was really an amazing time. Like I had 3 different meetings going on in LA, and I did it my own way. I kind of didn't follow the Mary Kay thing, having them dancing and doing Tony Robbins things. And it was just a beautiful time in history doing that. And I just, you know, working with Roger and having my business right now is just beautiful. It feels great. But that was a buzz. That was a pivotal moment, you know, doing the Mary Kay and leaving the airlines, winning the airline job. I got the airline job. I wasn't supposed to. Here's one more story. So I'm auditioning to work for this Western Airlines, right? 1,000 people going to Los Angeles, LAX airport to go for this cattle call. I get in the group, and I'm in the final little group, and they're all going to put us in these rooms. And they interviewed you, and guess what they were looking at as you were in this big circle. You know what they were looking at? They asked you to stand up and you had to talk. And guess what they were looking at? One of the things they were looking at.
What was that?
They were looking at the people sitting, how they acted while you were talking.
Interesting.
Yeah, it was really interesting. Like everyone's going to say, I want to be a flight attendant because I love to serve coffee, blah, blah, blah. They didn't care what was coming out of your mouth because unless it was really bad, then they'd X you out. But most people that got into that room, because it was a final room, they already knew they were already cool because they had done the pre-interview. But I found out later from one of the people that worked for the airline, they said they would just look to see if somebody was, looking out. Nowadays, oh my God, so many people are so apathetic, it's like, dude, you got to connect. We have to connect. So that was. So when I went to do my final interview, I was 10 pounds overweight. I weighed 5 pounds overweight. I weighed 126 pounds. I was like nothing. It was all in the days where they still made you do this thing. And I remember this chick, this like soul chick in LA. She was just like, sorry, you got to come back. They gave me the uniform and everything was ready to go. And they weighed you. And they go, you have to come back. And I said, what are you talking about? She goes, you're like 4 pounds over and you got to come back in 6 months. And I said, so I used my voice and I kind of not pushed her in the corner. And I was trying to be really cool, but I enrolled her like, ma'am, I'm on my period. I had a tooth problem. This is all fake. It's water weight. And I said, blah, 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 coming out of my mouth. I don't think it was the words. I think she's like this pathetic thing here. And I had my Beverly Hills haircut because I had left working in Beverly Hills by then. And she says, well, okay, listen. She had a tone of voice. She had an attitude. She said, listen, you can come back in 2 weeks. If you don't have that weight off, you're fired. I'm like, oh, please, thank you, God, thank you. So I got with your rights. But I always use that story too, because your voice can cause things.
Use it.
Yeah, so it was.
Wow.
I forgot all these stories. Well, you're making me think back.
No, wonderful. So what are you working on now? What projects do you have coming up that we should be on the lookout for?
Oh my God, thanks for asking that. That's great. Right now, my passion is growing, working with clients to come more alive when you speak on camera, to improve your business, but not just improve your business like just thinking of the sales part of it, but expanding out so that your business has more variety in it, and because you're going to show up more. So I'm going to be doing a challenge. So this is being filmed, so somebody might watch it at different time zones. But if you come over to our Facebook group, Come Alive on Camera, that will show. I think the next one's coming up sometime in January, but I do them every few months.
Okay.
So that's coming up. And then I'm also doing private consultations on the phone, and I'm doing video audits. So for free. So if you want me to look at your video, look at your stuff and see, hey, from my point of view, from my background, here's some ideas that I think you might, and if that is a fit, then we can also work together, and I can, coach you on how to come alive more on camera and have better content and lighting and makeup, and mainly though presentation skills. So I'm doing that. And I don't know about you, but isn't it like it's kind of exploding, all these new groups? That's how I met you. All these women's groups, especially 30,000 over here, 6,000 over them. Some of them are so big that they're ridiculous. And that's another point, is I feel like what I do is more of the secret weapon. I'm like the Roger Love that you didn't know, or the person that goes, that person's going to take me to the next level. Yes. So, but I do love networking and collaborating. So, and doing podcasts like with you today.
So glad to have you here. And let's say some of our listeners out there want to get in touch with you. What's the best way they can reach you?
The best is totally at Facebook. It's Lisa Monette. My name is right here. I'm a live video coach, and you can find me at Come Alive on Camera, the group. You can also, I'll drop this too. My website for the challenge is comealiveencamera.com. So that's a great place to find me. And I'm always talking to people all over the world. I love collaborating, and I love giving feedback, and just, it's just so much fun to be in our group.
Oh, beautiful, beautiful. Well, before we wrap up, we do have one more question. It's a bit hypothetical.
So you got your little bag of tricks, huh?
Oh, this is the favorite. So let's say, hypothetically.
And I don't know this, you guys. If you're watching right now, I don't know what she's asking. I'm like, what is she going to ask now?
Oh, well, let's say you could jump in a time machine and go back 25 years. What are you saying to yourself? You only have 2 minutes to really coach yourself and get yourself ready for what's coming. What are you saying?
25 years ago?
Yeah.
Wow, there's just so many things, but that's about when I was doing Mary Kay, and I would be saying, don't quit this. I was one of the few people ever in the history of Mary Kay to quit when I was at the top, because I wanted to do something that was kind of cool. And I said, oh, this is beautiful. I'll try something else. I don't have to regret it, but I do look back thinking sometimes you can stay in something that you're already doing great in, and you don't have to keep moving around all the time. And on the other hand, I probably still would have moved on because I'm a creative soul. But is that what you're saying? Like if you were to look back 25 years ago and say, just be patient. Because sometimes, at certain age, things are like, I want next. What I do? I told you, Beverly Hills. I was a flight attendant, Mary Kay, left with a thing. I did all these things. And it is cool. But sometimes you're like, okay, you could stay, you're okay with it. So I think that's what I'd say. Otherwise, I don't know what else. I probably would have different relationships, going out different. Who knows? I don't want to invalidate it, because even all the crap that I went through and all the beauty I went through, it can never, I just embraced 25 years ago or 10 years ago or a year ago. I'm grateful for all these experiences, even in the face of all the hell that people have seen. I've had deaths. Like my best friend from Belize, she died 2 years ago, and another friend of mine died. Yeah, it was just awful. She was like my best friend. I met Teresa on the street in Los Angeles. She was a CPA for the city of Los Angeles for the water and power, and I got her into Mary Kay. We were buddies for like 30 years, and she stayed in Mary Kay. I didn't even stay in it. I got her so enrolled. But so I miss some of that kind of stuff. So that's what I would say 25 years ago. Have more lunch with Therese. Now you're gonna make me cry. But life is short,
only if they're happy tears. And the real intent of that question is the advice, the gift that we give you to take with you, so that 25 years from now, you're listening to those same words. Don't give up. Don't stop, because what you're doing is absolutely amazing. And you're changing.
And they with the right coaching. I'm very fortunate, because everything, like when I worked for the airlines and when I worked for Bernard in Beverly Hills, I think it's because I really seriously saw this as this little kid at 10 years old, where right when I'm a little girl, somebody from the, ice capades and the Olympics coming to me and saying, your daughter's really talented. So it hit something going, oh, of course I am. Like I always know stuff, but when somebody else believes in you, that saying, hey, be around great people. Don't be in any things that aren't your vibe. If they're not your vibe, get out of it.
Run.
And I got into a situation where I had to start over at one time, and I had to go back behind the counter at $12 an hour and work in this, department store thing. And after I'd been in all this positive stuff, right, with the Mary Kay deal. And then I just, a bunch of things happened where I had to start all over. My husband and me broke up, and it's just a mess happened. And I started back at $12 an hour. And that whole arena was so negative. And and I went, oh my God, what is all this? But I swam my way through it. I got out of it, and I became an executive with a huge company. And they were going down at that time. They weren't in a certain company with Sephora. Then I go over to the Chanel counter, and I end up being this executive for this huge area. And then my boss gets fired after 30 years. And so then they came and they go, we have to get rid of his people. So I get fired. Never been fired in my life. Who's going to fire me? I'm nothing but a money-making, positive thing. And 30 different counters called HR in New York City and said, why did you get rid of Lisa? And so I had a buddy in HR, and she says, look, I'm going to give you 6 months worth of salary. I'd only been with them 90 days. She goes, you can't ever tell anybody ever this story. She said, don't ever tell. And she says, there's no way they should have fired you, but it was out of my control. And that's when I said, screw that. Start my own business. And I started my own thing after that, which led me leading to you today.
Wow. So the very things that we think are limitations or curses can be the thing that starts you on the best journey of your life. I love.
How many people will do, they'll do like a question. They go, how many of you have ever been fired? And you get like a whole thread of people going, yeah, it caused this, it caused that. I mean, nobody wants to be fired. I cried my guts out the day it happened. But then the next day, guess what I did? I wrote a marketing plan. I already knew what I had done in Mary Kay. I already knew what I did with Tony Robbins. I knew about the other things. I already was working with professional actors and stuff in the other arenas. So I took all these different things and I went, let's pull this together. Especially, right now I see women, especially women, a lot of women that are over 50. They have all this experience that they've done, and then they're now changing, or they are done with that career and they want to do something different. You've got a bunch of talent. You're not starting over ever. You're bringing in all this genius, and now you're going to put that into this other arena you're doing. So
Love it.
And I study NFL too. Like I'm really obsessed with the LA Rams right now and the Las Vegas Raiders and Lamar Jackson, who's not playing anymore for Baltimore. And I'm all this shit. Like I'm involved with these guys because I love people being on the field and playing their guts out, and not to have this manly energy of like, oh, we have to, you know, kick butt or something. It's just, I love high performance.
Yes.
And I love elite athletes, and not elite because they're, you know, doesn't mean they're elite up here somewhere so silly, but because they did the discipline to create this sport, this performance, this thing. Speakers do that, CEOs do it, but
yes,
I kind of like the physicality of having your own business and freedom.
Love it. Love it. Well, you know, it has been remarkable to be able to come together, to hear some of your experiences, your wisdom, your light. And we can't thank you enough. We just want to remind all our listeners out there to be cognizant, to tell the ones you love exactly how you feel. Not a day is promised. And whatever you're going through, remember you're where you're supposed to be. But don't stay there. Go as high as you can. We believe in you. And we can't wait to see you next time. Lisa, wishing you the very best and limitless success this year and beyond. Thank you so much for joining us.
You're so beautiful. So glad to meet you in person. Let's do it again.
Absolutely. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks so much for watching. Be sure to share this video and like, comment, and subscribe. You can find us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at New You Well. Until next time, stand tall in your power and remember, your belief in yourself is your superpower.